I'm on Balmoral. It's the final day of my 9-night cruise, and tomorrow I'll be docking back in Southampton. Now, over the last 9 nights, I've realised that this cruise ship is totally different to any that I've ever been on before. And that brings me to what I want to cover today. In this video, I want to share with you 20 things that I think you need to think about if you're planning to cruise on Balmoral in the future. If you enjoy this video and if you find it useful, it would be great if you would think about supporting my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. Anyway, it's cold out here, so enough from this top deck. Come and join me in the cabin and I'll walk you through all 20. Welcome to my cabin down on deck number 6 of the ship. This is where I've been calling home this cruise. At the end of this video, I'll link you up to show you a full room tour so that you can see what my rooms look like. But for now, let's get started on the first of 20 things that I think you should be planning to do if you're looking to cruise on Balmoral in the future. To get us started, we are talking about this document here. This is what Olsen Cruise Lines know as the Daily Times, and it's their version of what a lot of other cruise lines know as the Daily Schedule. If you've ever taken a cruise before, you'll probably know the importance and the relevance of this document, but just in case you haven't, every night before you go to bed, this document will be delivered to your cabin, usually as part of the nightly turndown service. In here, you'll find so much information. For example, if you're at port tomorrow, you'll find information about the port, about some last-minute excursions, maybe what the weather is looking like, maybe how to disembark the ship. There is so much in here. Whether you're in port or at sea tomorrow, you'll also find the full schedule of events, of what's going on around the ship. That therefore means that this document becomes, I guess, a little bit like your cruise Bible for the days that you're on board. You can also see, along at this end, this page is a lot thinner, and I really like this feature. All that you do is just pull on the perforated edge, and then suddenly, instead of walking around the ship with this huge document, you can walk around the ship with this. How handy is that? I've never seen a cruise line with a perforated tear-off onboard activity schedule. I really like that. So yes, number 1, read and digest the Daily Times every night of your cruise. I recommend bringing a pen, bringing a pencil, or bringing a highlighter and just relaxing in bed before you turn in for the night and circle what you want to do the following day. So number 1, daily schedule and Daily Times. Number 2, you must try afternoon tea while you're on board Balmoral. I wasn't expecting this to be such a big thing on a Olsen Cruise Line ship because I don't know that many people that have taken a cruise with this cruise line. There are other cruise lines out there that do have reputations for offering a really solid afternoon tea, but what I've seen on here this week, I've been so impressed by. You've got a couple of different options for afternoon tea. You can go up to the observatory on deck 11 at the front of the ship. Up there, you can pay, at the point of recording this video, £13 per person, and that then gets you a full-serviced white tablecloth afternoon tea where everything will be presented on a cake stand. You get the teapots over to the table. It's a really nice environment, and there's usually a live musician playing up there during that service as well. If, however, you want something a little bit lighter, you want to do it maybe on your own terms and you don't want a huge portion, then you can make your way to the Thistle restaurant, which is down on deck 7, and that's Balmoral's self-service buffet restaurant. In there, in the middle of the afternoon, you'll find sandwiches, cakes, scones, tea and coffee. The whole array is available in there, and that one is free of charge. So yes, number 2, make sure you cut time into your day to go and have afternoon tea. Number 3, don't stick to only your assigned dining venue for every single meal that you're going to eat on board. At the point of making your booking, you'll have been assigned to one of the 3 main dining rooms on the ship. That could mean that you will be dining on deck number 6 at the Balmoral restaurant, or it could mean that you'll be assigned to one of the 2 restaurants up on deck number 10, which are called the Spey and the Avon restaurants. I've met so many people during my cruise who then also eat breakfast and lunch at their assigned restaurant, and they don't realise that all of the restaurants are open for breakfast, lunch and dinner, but the main assigned meal slot is dinner. That means that I will eat dinner at the restaurant on deck number 6, but I really enjoy having either my breakfast or my lunch at one of the restaurants up on deck number 10. The reason why I enjoy this is because the venues up there are so different to what you get down on deck 6, because the main Balmoral restaurant feels like a main dining room, and it's a huge dining in the round venue with 2 buffet stations over to the side. If you look at the Spey and Avon restaurants, they service as a much more open, glass-sided venue with a buffet station in the middle. The food in all of these restaurants is going to be exactly the same over breakfast, lunch and dinner. So yes, okay, go and have dinner at your assigned restaurant, but why not mix it up for your breakfast and your lunch and enjoy a different view? Number 4. Take part in the social stroll when the ship's in port. This is one thing that I've really loved about cruising with Fred Olsen this week. I've never seen a cruise line do this before, but the social stroll is a really informal event that takes place every day that the ship is in port, if the centre of the port is within walking distance of the ship. Essentially, how this works is that at the end of the gangway, a couple of members of the entertainment team will be waiting. They'll have a Fred Olsen Cruise Lines flag, and they will walk into the centre of the town, and you're more than welcome to go and join them. It's the perfect way to go for a gentle walk into the town or into the city, meet some of your fellow cruisers and have a bit of a chat in the process as you walk along. As someone who very often cruises solo, I value that so much, because it's a great way to just meet other people and get a bit of conversation. So yes, try and diarise at some point during your cruise to take part in the daily stroll. Number 5. Spend time exploring the ship once you get on board to try and find your favourite spot. Balmoral is so different to so many other cruise ships, and each of the venues are really quite unique. One thing that I've loved about this ship is that, and this might sound strange, is that it feels like a ship. I've been on so many newer cruise ships that almost try and mask the fact that you're on a ship out at sea, whereas so many of the venues on here have got huge windows, lovely armchairs that you can relax in looking out to sea, and I just love wandering around this ship, seeing all of the little nooks and crannies everywhere that you can spend time. So once you get on board, maybe go from top to bottom or bottom to top, front to back, and just snake around and try and look for all of the venues, and you never know, you might find your new perfect spot. Staying on the topic of perfect spots, let me tell you about mine. Point number 6 is that I think you need to plan to spend some time at the front of the ship. At the very front of the promenade deck on Balmoral, there is an absolutely stunning view right across the front of the ship, and either out to sea or out into the port that you're visiting that day. If you look behind you, you can then see the bridge really clearly, and this is a viewpoint that is actually quite rare on so many cruise ships nowadays. It is worth highlighting that because this is right at the very front, if you are sailing on a windy day, for example, then that will be roped off and it'll be closed just due to the fact that the wind will be quite intense up there. But if you're doing an itinerary anything like what I've done this week, which has been the Norwegian fjords, you're going to want to spend some time at the front of the ship, because believe me, it's absolutely breathtaking to be standing there, surrounded by mountains, looking right out across the front of the ship. Number 7, know where to find water on board, and bring a bottle with you so that you've always got water available in your cabin. I found 2 water stations on board that are always really quiet when I go to fill up my bottle. You'll find one of them in the forward stairwell of deck 5, and you'll find the other up in the fitness centre. So wherever you are, it's going to be pretty straightforward to fill up your bottle. I've also found it really easy to get my water filled up if I'm dining at the Thistle restaurant. The crew are more than happy to take it and fill it, but every night before I go to bed, I come back to my room, take my water bottle, and head along to the front of deck 5, where all I have to do is push a button and I've got loads of fresh water. I often find people on cruise ships spend money buying water because they just don't realise that you can often get really good quality filtered water or fresh water elsewhere from water coolers. So yes, if you are coming on here, then make a note of the front of deck 5 and the fitness centre to get some fresh water during the day or before you go to bed. Number 8, look out for special events. You'll find special events all over the ship. You can see them advertised on the digital screens as you walk through the corridors. You'll also find them being sold during the first few days of the cruise. There's also what's called an F&B fair, which I believe would be a food and beverage fair. You go along to that, and in front of you will be all of the different special events laid out that you can then book onto. Or of course, you'll find them listed in your daily times. One particular event that I have enjoyed so much during my cruise has been the cheese and wine night, where you could go along, you can buy wine by the bottle, and then at that event, you can enjoy your wine, you can listen to the musicians on stage, and you can eat a lot of cheese. Believe me, the range of cheese at that event was like nothing I've ever seen. As I mentioned, I've been cruising through Norway, and one of the huge selling points for me of that special event was that a lot of the cheese was actually Norwegian local cheese that I'd never tried before. So I really enjoyed being able to go up there, relax, look at some of the views up in the observatory lounge, and enjoy what was a really different event. I also found that because I've had the drinks package on my account this week, for me to buy a bottle of wine, it ended up being half price, which is the way it works if you have a drinks package on here, but you want to buy a bottle. And don't worry, I didn't have to drink my entire bottle at the cheese and wine event. Anything that you don't drink just simply gets sent to the dining room and you can then enjoy it with your dinner. So don't worry if you are cruising on here solo and thinking, wow, I could never get through a bottle of wine within an hour. Just have whatever you like and get the team to send the remainder down to your dining table. Number 9, spend some time wandering around the ship, looking at some of the art and scanning the QR codes. This is such a cool feature, and I love how Olsen Cruise Lines have managed to integrate technology to get more people looking at aspects of the art. During the first few days of my cruise, I noticed that at the corner of most of the artworks on board, there was a small white label that had a QR code printed. I then thought, I wonder if I held my phone up and scanned that QR code, what would come up? And I couldn't believe that it then takes me to a website that tells me all about the artist who created that painting. It is absolutely brilliant. And it's another thing that I've never come across that on a cruise ship before. If you're not familiar with scanning QR codes, then all you have to do is hold your smartphone up to the QR code with the camera enabled. You should then have a notification on your screen that allows you to tap into a web page, and that will then open and it'll tell you a little bit more about what you're looking at. I was so impressed to see tech being used in that way on what is a pretty old ship. So yes, make sure you spend some time walking around the ship and scanning the QR codes on the art. Number 10, if you're able, throw on your shoes, get out onto the promenade deck and try and walk a mile a day. This might sound like quite a lot, but the promenade deck on board Balmoral is a full wraparound promenade that takes in both sides of the ship, the front, which I've showed you earlier, and also the back. If you do 4 laps of the promenade deck, that equates to 1 mile. And from my, yes, okay, very basic analysis using my phone to count my steps, it's just over 2,000 steps if you do 4 laps. So if you are one of those people like me who tries to make sure that they do enough steps in a day to justify having maybe the extra dessert at dinner, then why not come out and do some laps? It's also worth mentioning that because the promenade deck is entirely flat, it's a really nice space to just walk round at your own pace. There's no need to run. And in fact, you're not permitted to power walk, jog, or run on that promenade deck just for safety reasons. So it's a really nice space to get out, do some laps, and look for wildlife. During this cruise, as much as it pains me to say that I haven't got video footage as proof, I've seen dolphins, whales, and even a seal at the side of the ship, so who knows what you might see during your daily laps. Number 11, and this one really blew my mind. The 11th thing that I want you to try and do when you cruise on Balmoral is try and find the part of the ship where the extension has taken place. Yes, that's right, you've heard me correctly, this ship has been extended. On some ships it can be quite difficult to see where extensions have taken place, but on here it's really fascinating as you walk through the inside. Years ago, what happened was that in order to make this ship bigger, they essentially cut the ship in half, inserted a new extended section in the middle, and then welded it all back together again. Now, yes, that is probably the simplest way that I could ever explain a ship's extension, but I'm not too sure on the technical aspects of it. You'll find way better information on that elsewhere. But what I've loved doing on this cruise is going for a walk and finding the parts that I can see have been extended. The example I would give you is that as you walk through the corridors with guest cabins, you'll see that you'll move from the coloured section where the coloured doors and the coloured walls are. You'll then move in to a totally different colour. So the doors down there will go wood, for example, and you can tell pretty clearly that you've suddenly moved from the original part of the ship into the new part of the ship. You'll then see that as you get further down that corridor, you then re-enter the older part. It has fascinated me this week. So yes, number 11, try and walk through the corridors, identify where the extension begins and finishes, and why not try and also do that from the outside. Number 12, explore the ship plaques. Directly outside my cabin, on deck number 6, you'll find all of the ship plaques. Now, if you've not taken a cruise before, you might be thinking, what on earth is a ship plaque? Is he actually going to tell us? Well, yes, don't worry. Essentially, every time a ship docks in a port for the first time, it's presented with a plaque to commemorate that occasion. So, for example, the very first time that this cruise ship docked in Mazatlan in Mexico, it will have been presented with a commemorative plaque. That plaque is then displayed on that stairwell for everyone to see. I have loved looking at the ship plaque display on a much older ship, because when you go on a new ship, typically they've not been to that many ports, so you might find that there'll be 20, 25 plaques. On here, there are so many. My challenge to you is that during one of your sea days, head down there. Try and find the furthest away port that you can find from where your ship currently is. Maybe try and find the port closest to your home, and maybe use those ship plaques to even think about planning your next cruise. Where do these ships go? Where would you like to see? Head to the middle of deck 6 and do your research. Number 13. Go and check out a lecture. So many cruise lines offer lecture programmes on board, and I've found the ones from Fred Olsen to be pretty interesting and to also appeal to quite a wide audience. On my cruise, they've typically taken place in the Neptune Lounge, which is all the way at the very front of deck number 7. This is this ship's version of a main theatre, but on other ships you'll typically find they'll take place in coffee lounges or maybe also the main theatre as well. As I mentioned, the topics have been really diverse on this cruise. We've had talks on Stonehenge, we've had talks on photography, we've had talks on Norwegian culture because we've been in Norway. And I found that generally when you attend them, I, as someone in my 30s, have found them really interesting. And there's also people sitting there in their 70s and in their 80s who have also been really engaged. I think it's a great way to pass time, especially if you're enjoying a day at sea and if you're on a hot cruise and you want to escape the harsh sunshine out on deck. Or in my case, if you're on a colder cruise and you want to escape the relatively blustery winds out on deck, it's a great place to go, get a drink, relax, and learn something new. Number 14, do your daily puzzles. On board, there are a number of different places that you can pick up some puzzles from to, again, help you pass some time. One example of a place is, of course, back to the Daily Times. You're probably getting a bit of a feel for my love of the Daily Times on this cruise ship. You can find down here, every day, there'll be a puzzle, and that'll change. So you can take this out and around the ship. You can come back to your room, look at the ocean views while you complete your crossword. You can also find daily puzzles on your TV. You can also find them if you check out the library on board. There are quite a few different places. I believe you can also pick them up from down at guest services or reception. So if you want to keep your mind active while you're cruising, go to one of these many different forums and do your puzzles every single day. Number 15. I've just mentioned the library, but the 15th thing that I think you should do is go to the library, either check out a book to read in your own time, or why not go to book club if you are a really avid reader. I've never seen a book club on a cruise line before, but every single day of this cruise, book club has met down in the library, and I believe they all read the same book, and they all talk about that book. Now, I haven't been to book club, so I can't say for sure, but maybe let us know in the comments if that is how book club works. I have noticed down in the library there are quite a lot of copies of some books, which would suggest that everybody tackles the same one. If that's the case, I found that super interesting. Now, I'm not a huge reader, but I have noticed that down in the Bookmark Cafe, which is the venue that joins into the library, so many people use that as a really peaceful, quiet and serene reading environment, and it actually blows my mind speaking to people how many books they're able to get through on a cruise. I was doing a bit of thinking as to why Olsen Cruise Lines maybe offer a book club and some other cruise lines don't, and I think it might be due to the fact that a lot of the itineraries with Fred are a bit longer, therefore meaning that maybe people have more time to get into books. Either way, whatever the reason is, I really like it, and it seems to be really well attended on this cruise. So yeah, number 15, go and check out the library, and maybe even attend book club. Number 16, and you're going to like this one if you enjoy doing a bit of crafting. Throughout this cruise, you've been able to go down to the art studio to complete a whole range of crafting activities. Things as simple as colouring in have been there. There's also things like dream catchers that you're able to go and make. You could also make Easter cards down there because we've been cruising just before Easter. There's a really wide array. So if you enjoy going to crafting workshops or crafting sessions, then this one might be for you. There are often additional charges that come with these events, but the charges are small and it just covers enough for the supplies, to be honest. On the final day of the cruise, there's then an art exhibition where all of the pieces that have been made during the cruise are brought back to go on display. That means that other passengers who maybe haven't been crafting during the cruise can go down and see what other people have been getting up to. That, on this cruise, is running for 2 hours this afternoon actually, so I'll be able to show you some shots over this video. But I think that's a really lovely idea, to go down, make your crafts, make your art pieces, to then bring them back and show them off to the world. So number 16, try and go down to the art studio and do a bit of crafting. Number 17 of the 20 things I think you should be planning to do on your next Balmoral cruise. We're almost there, and this time we're talking dancing. It might surprise some of you that it's taken me so long to get to the topic of dancing, but I personally am not a dancer at all. I think if I got up onto a dance floor, people would probably pay me to sit back down. But on here, there's a whole array of dance opportunities for you. You could go and learn to, what I would say, properly dance in terms of ballroom dance down in the Neptune Lounge during a day at sea, or you can head upstairs for what I think would be a little bit more light-hearted, and you could go to line dancing. Both of these events during this cruise have been so popular, and what's been really nice is to see people that have been learning how to ballroom dance throughout the cruise get a little bit more confident, and now that we're in the final few days, build up the confidence to get up and do a dance at night in the Neptune Lounge before or after the show. So yes, why not pack your dancing shoes and get on that dance floor? The other really great thing about learning to dance on a Fred Olsen Cruise Line ship is that they often will travel with what's referred to as a dance host, or in the case of this cruise, there'll be plural of them. These are people who come onto the ship as often professionally trained dancers whose job it is to, I guess, spend time with passengers, upskilling them, building their confidence, and just running the dance lessons. These dance hosts can then help to get you up on the dance floor at night. So don't worry, you'll be in very safe hands. So yes, number 17, why not learn to dance? Number 18, get involved in the onboard activities. This is something that I recommend so often on any cruise line and on any cruise ship. But one thing's caught my eye this afternoon that I found particularly interesting. Throughout the cruise, you've been able to take part in games like Baggle or Cornhole, as a lot of other cruise lines would call it. There's also things like mini putting, shuffleboard, which is outdoors and indoors. There are so many different things. But what caught my eye this afternoon was on, yes, you got it, the Daily Times. There's a notice on here that says, over the course of the cruise, you've earned prize points through various games and activities. Be sure to use them before the end of the cruise, at the shop or the florist, with each prize point being worth 50 pence. This is, I think, the first time I've ever seen prize points gathered throughout games and activities on a cruise then being cashed in for money. Now, I have taken part in the games, but unfortunately I haven't won anything, so I don't have prize points to cash in. But I would be really intrigued to hear from you. If you've cruised on Balmoral, let us know in the comments, or any Fred Olsen Cruise Line ship for that matter. Let us know in the comments, have you ever built up prize points? And dare we ask, how much were they worth by the end of your cruise? I would love to know. So yes, make sure that you get through the Daily Times, look at all your daily events, and get involved. Number 19, go for a swim. I was really surprised coming on to what is one of the smallest cruise ships that I've ever cruised on to find two really good-sized pools plus hot tubs out on deck. I've been on some cruise ships and I think, oh my goodness, you have got 4,000 passengers, 5,000 passengers on here. Why is that swimming pool so small, and why is it so shallow? On here though, that's simply not been the case. You'll find two swimming pools on board Balmoral, one at the back of the ship on deck 7, directly behind the Thistle restaurant down on the promenade deck, and you'll find another one all the way at the top, up on deck 11. The real benefit to using the pool on deck 11 is that on either side of the pool, it's got raised walls, so even if you've got people relaxing on the loungers, it doesn't feel like you've got people looking at you in the pool. The other thing that's really great is that on either side of the top deck up there are quite tall glass windshields. That then means that as you're coming in and out of the pool, it really doesn't feel too windy up there at all, which, believe me, when you're in the middle of a fjord in Norway, coming out of a swimming pool, that really does make all the difference. Now, one other thing that I would advise if you are going for a swim up on the top deck is that Balmoral actually has complimentary saunas, which are totally included in your cruise fare. I've loved, during this cruise, going up to the top deck, doing a few lengths, safe in the knowledge that when I get out of that swimming pool, I've got a sauna waiting for me in at the spa. These saunas are bookable privately, again, totally free of charge. All you have to do is go to the spa reception to reserve it for however long you need. I find that if I'm going to go up to the top deck and do a swim from 4:30 till 5, I'll then book the sauna from 5 o'clock until 6 o'clock. I'll then take some water from one of the bars in with me, and it's just such a lovely place to warm up and spend a bit of time relaxing. So yes, go for a swim, but also book one of those saunas to fully defrost once you come back inside. Number 20, we've made it all the way to the end of the list. The final thing that I think that you should be planning to do when you cruise on Balmoral is remember the fact that you're cruising on a much more traditional and a much older cruise ship, and really try and embrace that. You're already on YouTube, you're already doing some research to learn more about the cruise line and more about the cruise ship, which is great, and I really, really respect people that before they get on board try and adjust their expectations to know what to expect. If you come on to this cruise ship expecting ziplining, a surfing simulator, an interactive 4D cinema, then you're simply going to be disappointed because ships like this don't have those facilities. If, however, you're coming on here expecting a much more traditional service level, beautiful views out to the ocean, a ship that handles that ocean really, really well, and so many older ship touches, then this could be the one for you. I've absolutely loved my 9-night cruise on board Balmoral, and I really hope that I get to experience this again at some point in the future. Now, if you have enjoyed this video and if you found it useful, I would really appreciate it if you would think about supporting my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. If you'd like to learn more about Fred Olsen, then feel free to head over to my channel where I have got so many videos over there waiting for you. If, however, you want to go straight on to the next video now, then why not come and join me over in this video? Here, I take you on a full tour of this cabin that I've presented this video from today to show you what an outside cabin on board Balmoral could look like for your next cruise. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you over there or in another video.